We are back on the Epic Success Podcast. I am Len Giancola, and my partner Mark Yegge is right here. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing phenomenal. You?
Excellent. Well, today we're going to do a founders interview conversation. So we want to tell everyone all about us. It's our favorite subject, Mark. We get to talk about us.
Really? Okay. I usually have a little trouble talking about me, but since that's what the episode is about, I'm going to toot my horn on this one.
Absolutely. Pat yourself on the back, baby.
That's it.
All right. Tell everybody, I think everyone needs to know who the hell are we, for those that don't know who we are. So let's give a little background on each of us. Why don't you go first? Tell us from as far back as you want to go, back in the Stone Age when you were born. Tell us up until today, what the hell has Mark Yegge been doing all his life?
Well, a lot of the stuff that when I was born, I don't remember. So I remember it was dark and then it was light, but I'm not going to go that far back. So, but I was born overseas and, I grew up in a Greek-American household, and that means I got to go to Greece every year and experience that. So I get to speak Greek now, and I get to go every year and still enjoy the culture. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's really my second home. But really, to me, a lot of this happened, and it seems like with you too, when I was 12 years old. My dad taught me to be really entrepreneurial. He taught me that you have to kind of eat what you kill, and you have to go out there and you have to claim what's yours. And nothing was ever handed to me in my home. My dad worked for everything that he had, and he wanted to teach me that same thing. And I'm still grateful to him to this day for doing that. And what that meant was I had to go out and mow the yard or paint his cabinets or clean the pool, and I got paid for doing that. And then as I realized, I got $5 a week for mowing the yard, $5 a week for cleaning the pool. I was like, why just do this at my house when I could go expand this to the neighborhood? So I created a little business. I had a riding lawnmower. I'd ride down the street, mow people's yards, clean their pools. And I started to make some money on it. And then one day I went home and I noticed my dad reading this paper, and he'd be opening up to the stock tables. There's really not a lot of stock table papers anymore, but he was reading the stock tables. Now, I'm setting this up because this has been the rest of my life. And I was like, what are you doing, Dad? And he goes, oh, I'm reading about the stock market. I'm looking at my stocks. And so I was really curious, and he taught me about these stocks. And so I took $100, I think it was, $100, and I bought this company called Aileen that fit the criteria that he told me about. It was a women's clothing store that I'd never heard about, but it fit the criteria. And I put $100 in out of my lawn mowing money, and it turned into $300 in just a few months. And I was like, woo, it's like hitting the drive right down the middle on the golf course. And you're like, this is easy. And then the next 9 might go into the woods, but you're playing for that one drive that goes down the middle. And then I took my $300 and I bought US Airways when it came public. It was a company called Allegheny Airlines, and it became US Airways. I remember seeing a commercial, Allegheny Airlines is going to become US Air. And I was like, oh, that's a cool name. So stupidly, I bought that, and I got lucky. And I hit another drive down the middle, and it went from $17 to $35 or $36, somewhere in there. I doubled my money. And then I learned how to short, which means you sell something before you own it and hope it goes down. And so I learned that. And then I started reading some books about the market, and I really became fascinated with it. And, since I was 12 years old, I've been involved in the stock market all through college, all through high school, in my career, in my life. And now that's what I do. I run a couple of hedge funds. I also teach people through some mastermind groups that we have how to invest, how to be better at investing. And I think we have some really, really cool ways of understanding how people invest. And a lot of this, Len, if I could just keep going here, comes from the BS that I learned when I was on Wall Street. Because I was on Wall Street for about 10, 11 years and sold my company to a gigantic Wall Street company. And in that period of time, I realized there's a game that Wall Street plays and the game that everybody else plays. And that's why Wall Street has these beautiful buildings, and the traders all live in the Hamptons, and they drive Lamborghinis. And you wonder where that money comes from. Well, you know where it comes from? It comes from the people, right? And so they tell you to invest in diversified, mutual funds so that you can spread your risk out, and and hopefully you're going to get 8% a year while they take your money and they 10x it in the background, and they invest it using a way that I now know how to do, and I teach people how to do. And they make way more money on that money. They give you your 1% on your CD, or your 4% on your bond, or maybe your 6 or 8% on your mutual fund. And you're happy because you're doing the average of what everybody else is doing. But I don't wake up in the morning, Len, going, oh, I want to be average today. I want to be freaking epic today. That's how I want to live my life every single day. And so I decided a couple of years ago that I wanted to empower. So I'm going to tell you this. I haven't told you this before, I don't think. I want to help create 1,000 millionaires. I want to create 100 10 millionaires. I want to create 10 100 millionaires, and I want to create 1 billionaire. That's $4 billion that I think I can help create.
Can I be the billionaire? Can I be the billionaire that you created?
I was hoping I was going to be the billionaire, but you know what? There's enough room at the top. So, but way to claim your spot, Len. So to me, that's what I want to do is I want to help people with the knowledge that I have from 44 years of trading, traded over $14 billion of securities through my companies and through what I've done individually, my hedge funds, et cetera. And there's a lot of failures in there, but I call those learning experiences. And I'm going to die in a few years. And when I die, all that wisdom is gone. And I want to just be able to help people learn how to take control of their money. And through what we're doing together, learn how to take control of their lives. So they're not just a victim of the BS programming that we have from, going to school and learning about Romeo and Juliet and the Pythagorean theorem and, the Scarlet Letter and whatever else crap we learned that we never use in our life. And we replace that knowledge with things about negotiation, relationships, your health, how to invest, how to create a great life, an epic life. And that's what I think we're trying to do here is we want to help people get empowered. And, we've got some experience in doing those things. And certainly we want to learn from the other people that are our viewers and our listeners to do that for themselves. And I want to learn from what other people are going through. And that's how we can become better. So that's a little bit about me. And just right now I run a couple of hedge funds. I have mastermind courses that I teach people how to invest. We target 8 to 20% a year in what we do and what we teach. But as you know, that's really low. But if I told people that we target for higher, Wall Street programming tells you that's impossible without taking risk. And as you know, we don't take a huge amount of risk and we get way better returns, way better than average. We like to be epic. We like to be excellent. And that's what we're trying to do in everything that we do. And my particular field starts mainly with money.
Yeah, and I can attest to your system, which is, we'll get into that later in the show, but that has definitely worked way better than the numbers that you just mentioned.
Thank you. How about you?
For me, I came from a different background, right? You had entrepreneurial lineage, if you will. Yeah. My parents still are awesome people, and they came from traditional corporate jobs. They were 9-to-5ers, both successful in their own right, but not like hugely successful, but successful. And I always thought, and it was on, my dad was on Wall Street. He was an executive. And I always thought that was the way to go. I have to go work on Wall Street. You know what I mean? So once I started thinking, being a pro baseball player out of my mind and actually realizing I'm going to have to go work for a living, Wall Street was my foot in the door because my dad was in there and the people that we socialized with were all in the Wall Street world. So, I've shared stories on other episodes of, I was shy when I was young. And then I had a few, I don't know, what are they, enlightening experiences, if you will, to give me some confidence. And when I graduated college, I did the whole traditional thing, went to college, got my business degree. And when I got out of school, my dad got me an interview and I got my foot in the door. And I basically took it from there. So over 8 years of corporate life, I ascended rather quickly. I became the youngest managing director in the Americas in my field. And I was on the short side. Basically, we facilitated short sales for hedge funds for anyone who cares. But basically what I realized was, yeah, Mark, I was getting a nice salary, right? But how much was I making the company? So even though they were paying me good money, I was making 50x or 100x for the company. And selfishly, I said, wait a second. Why am I want this money, and selfish isn't a negative word. A lot of people think selfish is a negative word. It's not. Right? So you want to get to a certain level where you can then go help other people like you alluded to. So I see a lot of people try and help on the way up. And until you have those experiences, until you reach a certain level, you can't do as much good as you want. So I had this mindset where, okay, I'm going to get to a certain level and I'm going to mentor people when I get to that level. And I've been doing that for the last 20 years probably, is mentoring younger people or mentoring peers on experiences I've had. And I think that it's gone a lot further in helping them as opposed to if I did it 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So like in the last few years, and I know I'm jumping around, in the last few years, I've been on an advisory board for the local high school. I've spoken to, I think 13 times, I've spoken to the local high school classes in their business academies or whatever it may be. And I love that feeling of helping them. And maybe I speak to 100 kids and only 7 of them come up to me after the session, but those 7, a light bulb went off. And I know I did something in their head to make them think of life differently or think of their future differently. And that's another level of success that feels great and fulfills me inside. Okay, besides, I could talk about all different successes. We both had monetary successes. I've had relationship successes. I have business successes. And I don't use the word failure either, because failure is not a term that exists in my life. I like to experience things and learn from them, whether things worked out or didn't, for my next venture. And I'm sure as we get into this, we'll talk about the different ventures I've been part of and you've been part of, but I like to just keep rolling into new things. And everyone out there who doesn't know me, you can tell by the way I talk. I talk fast, I walk fast. It's just the way I'm wired. And that's what I do in business. That's what I do in life. And I enjoy it. It's just the way I am. And it makes me feel great. And so far, so good. I have no complaints about my life so far.
Beautiful. So you touched on a couple of things, but I want to go a little bit deeper into your life because, listen, I don't want everybody to think this is a business podcast and about entrepreneurial stuff. And that's a component of who we are. That's a part of our identity. But I know you have a part of your identity that's seated really deeply in family. So I want you to talk about your family. Don't be so modest. I want you to tell me how awesome your family is and why they're so awesome.
So I got married young. I got married at 25 years old. And sometimes you just know when you find your best friend, right? So I'm going to start with my wife, obviously. My wife, Marnie, is an amazing person. She's been my best friend since I know her. We started dating when I was 20 years old. I'm now just past 50, and we've been together this whole time. She's supported me in everything we've done. And I always told my friends when they were getting married, I'm like, if you're 98% into this girl, that's not enough.
Wow.
Because that 2% is going to rear its ugly head at some point, and you don't want that. And we both know people who may have financial success, but they have a shitty home life, and that really could bring down everything around you and people around you and you yourself. So I don't know if I got lucky. I don't know if it was just 2 people that cultivated this amazing relationship, but I don't know of a relationship that's better than the one my wife and I have. And I'm proud to say that. We've done crazy things together. We've done traditional things together. We've gone crazy places. We've had insane fun. And kept it fresh and new this whole time. Wow. And been attracted to each other, right? So I've said this on stage before, Mark. I'm like, if you come home from whatever job you're at, or she comes home from whatever job she's at, or he or she and she, whatever your relationship is, if you come home and you look at that other person and you don't want to jump their bones anymore, and you don't want to just start fooling around with them, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, time to move on and do a favor for the both of you and move on. Not fair to you. It's not fair to the other person. Not fair to your kids. It's not fair to the people around you to just fake it through that.
What I've noticed, Len, is a lot of people, what they do is they have a great relationship in the beginning, and then they have kids. And then they focus everything on their kids. And then when their kids are 18, they don't know each other anymore. And I've witnessed you and your wife together, and I don't think that's the case. But I wanted to use that as a lead-in to talk about your kids, because your kids are like a couple of the most awesome girls that I've ever met.
Thank you.
I'd like to figure out why, and maybe delve into, what's going on with your family with respect to your kids.
Yeah. And I think the reason that we're so tight as a foursome, if you will, is that there was no subject that was ever off base at the dinner table. So a lot of families, I think, maybe both parents are working or one parent's working, they come home, they have dinner, but they flip on the TV, or the kids are scrolling their phone and nobody's paying attention to each other. We don't do that. The only time we have a TV show on is if it's like Shark Tank when they were young and we were talking about cool opportunities to get their mind working. And like you said, it's not all about business, but we would just sit at the dinner table, and we still do this. We still do this now, especially this past year. We have a lot of time together where we talk every night about a different subject. It could be relationships. It could be health. It could be all the, cornerstones of Epic for us. But we talk about things at the dinner table, and even uncomfortable things, where my kids know that nothing's off base. If you want to discuss that, or you're having a problem, or you're not clear about something, we all talk about it as a family and get through it. Maybe one of us is going through something and the other 3 are fine with it, but we go through it. And it's our little board of directors meeting that we have every night. It's not like once a year. It's not once a quarter that some people have these scheduled family dates or daddy-daughter dates. No, it's every day. So even before the pandemic hit, I would take one of my daughters out to lunch almost every day, and we would just discuss whatever they wanted to discuss. Or maybe sometimes it was dad plugging a little something that I think that we should discuss. And that has always been a thing. Money was never taboo. I mean, how many families do you know, their kids have no idea if dad makes money or mom makes money or how?
That's right.
And my kids saw that we were doing cool investments, that we were running businesses, and they asked questions about it. And they started, because of that, it led to deeper and deeper conversations and got my children to start investing at age 14 and 10. Amazing. And they've been, now they're 19 and 20 and 16, about almost. And they've been investing for what, 6 years, right?
Amazing.
They have a portfolio that's probably bigger than the average 45-year-old in the country. And that's not to brag, but it's to brag because they're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And it's because of those conversations that we had that enabled them to feel comfortable asking about what we do and how we do it when school isn't teaching that. And because of that, we got closer. They had more opportunities. They had access to people like you and people in my circle that normal kids don't, not because of me, but because we had those conversations and they asked about it. You know what I mean? And now they can be ahead of their peers as far as financial knowledge, relationship knowledge, social knowledge, whatever it may be. And I'm super proud of that. And it continues daily. It's never over.
And I've been to one of your dinners, Len, at least one, and with your family. And I was really engaged and I was impressed by your daughters who were asking some really high level questions and I think their eyes were like really wide open to listen and to learn and to grasp the information that was coming out. And, you know, I don't know, maybe even me, but I don't know about most people when they're 18 and 16 and 14, if they're asking questions of people that are older than them, or they just look at them and go, oh, they're old fuddy-duddies. But your daughters didn't do that. And I was really impressed and amazed by that, the high level conversation that we had over that dinner. And it's usually, usually people sit down and eat and 20 minutes later, they're back doing their phones or whatever. We sat there for like an hour and 15 minutes, had a beautiful Italian meal and a wonderful conversation about, issues of the day and things like that. I was just amazed. So I have to say that. And kudos to you, brother, for really focusing on your family, because as you know, as I know from watching you, that's a big source of your happiness and your satisfaction and your success in life. So
yes, thank you. It's probably my biggest accomplishment is watching their early success, and I can't wait to see what it leads to in their life going forward. It's such a cool feeling. It's great. Thank you for saying that. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
The name of the show is Epic. The name of the mastermind is Epic that we're part of here. What is your ideal epic lifestyle for Mark Yegge?
So for me, it could be different for everyone, but for me, my definition is having the freedom, because I think men maybe more than women, not to be sexist, but you know what? We're different. And men more than women are really about freedom and peace. And so for me, I'm about those things. Maybe I can just speak for myself. But success and epic success means having the freedom to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do, wherever I want to do it, with whom I want to do it, and have an epic time doing it. So that's what I want to do. And so if we drill down on that, I realized, because I was exposed to travel at a very early age, that I wanted to travel. And I found out that when I wasn't in the right relationship, I wasn't able to travel and experience that. And maybe I was muting myself or holding myself back. So I decided a few years ago that wasn't going to be me. I wanted my life to be about travel. We only have a few years on this planet. We might as well make them epic. And I wanted to visit 100 countries. Why? Not just the number, but I love to go to a new place, plop myself down, exchange some currency, figure out the top 100 words that I need to use to converse. It's a challenge for me. It's a learning experience for me. I love to learn, and I feel really alive. If I could do that with a group of peers or with a significant other, or even just by myself, I'm living life where I want to live it. So for me, travel is like the biggest component of that. Now, if you've ever studied Tony Robbins, he has 6 human needs, and 2 of those top needs for a lot of people are certainty and uncertainty. Well, certainty is not a biggie for me. So it plays much less a role in the other 5 human needs. But the big one for me is growth and variety. So I love to go to a new place and figure things out. Hop on one of those double-decker buses and do the hop on, hop off tour, take a tour of the city, go to a museum, learn things about their culture. Because look, frankly, in the United States, we don't know a darn thing about most other governments, most other cultures, but they know a lot about ours. Why is that? We're not that great. and we're pretty cool, but there are a lot of things that we can learn from other people. And when I go to another country and immerse myself, not just go to the tourist destinations, but immerse myself in the culture for 3-4 weeks, I learn so much about myself. I learn so much about the culture, and I grow as a person. So for me, that's what it is. Then I meld in a little bit of work along the way. I call it, I say the word work because everybody understands that, but I don't work, I play. And so I love doing what I do. What I do every day is I make investments. I run a couple of hedge funds and help people invest. I teach people how to do it. I love those aspects of my life. So as long as I'm doing those things, and creativity is a big thing for me too. Like, I'm a musician. I like to learn languages. I like to create courses, and I've written several books. Creativity makes me feel fully alive. If I can do those things with other people that I like to do them with, whenever I want to do them, that's the definition of success for me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty damn awesome. If you're asking me, that sounds pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, so I've been to 56 countries. I've got 44 left, and then maybe I'll set up a new list. But I can't wait to experience some of these cool things. I want to go stay in an ice hotel up in either Quebec City or in Finland, or somewhere to see the Aurora Borealis. Like, I think that'd be a cool thing. I want to take a photography trip with some National Geographic a photographer and learn the key things about photography in the Galapagos Islands off of Ecuador. Certain things like that I feel that I want to accomplish them, not because I get to check them off, because I think they'll make me better as a person, and it'll just be a lot more fun. So hopefully maybe you'll be able to do some of those with me, or maybe some of the other Epic members will be able to do that with me. So how about you? What is the definition for you of an epic life, Len?
Yeah, it's funny. It's morphed over the years. Obviously, as you get to different ages, you start thinking about, what's the perfect scenario. And I think I'll just go with what's my dream to do next right now. And that's, you and I have spoken offline about it a lot, right? I want to spend a certain amount of time in Italy and a certain amount of time here. I don't know what that breakdown is going to be yet, but those are my, that Italy's a place that just tugs at my heartstrings and at my soul, because that's my heritage. I was always a bad flyer. So I didn't fly for 12 years at one point. And, I had some peer group people, like yourself, that pushed me to say, hey, man, fight through that and go enjoy the world. You know what I mean? So a few years ago, I got back on the horse, and I think we flew 84 times in 1 year, my family.
No kidding. Wow.
After I didn't fly for 12 years. And, we went to Canada, we went to the Midwest of the United States, we went to Bermuda, we went to Italy, and Italy was the one that just tugged at me, probably because, like I said, my heritage, my grandfather was my favorite person ever in my life. Got to go stand on the steps of the home he was born on over 100 years ago. That just punched me in the soul in a good way, hugged my soul. I don't know how to describe it. And now when I go to Italy, I think Italy has about 20 countries within Italy that you can explore and immerse yourself in. And I'm not done exploring those yet. And even though I have my favorites and I want to spend extended time in certain places, there's a whole bunch I haven't explored yet. And I'd love to spend extended time there where I can do that. So that's my epic lifestyle, is making sure my kids are set with their next step in life, making sure they're on board with maybe wanting to try this adventure with me, or is it something my wife and I are just going to do? I don't know yet. We'll see what happens over the next few years. I'm working on my dual citizenship there, so I can come and go as I please. And that's really been my main focus. I'm learning the language over the last year during this pandemic. I've been starting to learn the language so I can communicate better. I've always been able to communicate a little bit, but I'm still uncomfortable and I'm afraid to respond to people there because I don't want to embarrass them or myself. So that's been a goal of mine over the last year. And financial independence hasn't been a problem. So as I'm creating more income streams to support that life when I do get to spend time there, that's my goal right now. My goal is to set up that life to make that epic lifestyle a reality in the next few years.
Yeah. Well, I know you already started it, and I'm going to be joining you on one of those trips because, I was born there, right? I was born in Italy, and you're going to come over and hang out with me in Greece a bit.
I have not been to Greece. I'm dying to go to Greece, and so is Marnie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. So hopefully this little shroud or cloud will raise, and we'll be able to move forward with continuing what we were doing before all this started happening.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk in your career. Name the various different income streams you've created and which ones you liked, or even investments or things you've done to create income whether you were in control of them or someone else was in control? What did you like? What didn't you like in your experience of trying different things?
Interesting. Well, I mean, I could go really deep on this, but I'll stay high level and say this. As I was growing up, my father got a contractor's license and he started building things. He built the second house that I lived in, beautiful house on the water in Clearwater, Florida. So I got a love of the water, and it was a really cool house. He was doing really well at the time as he was building his business. So I got to see him build it, and I walked there every day as he had the contractors and all that stuff, subcontractors working. I started to listen to him and my mother speak about money around the table. So that was a defining thing for me. Probably a little too much, frankly, but I learned a lot. And I learned that, when I'd be sitting in the car with my dad going to Radio Shack on a Saturday afternoon, he would also look at those buildings and go, wow, that building's for sale. That needs some work. And he wasn't afraid of becoming a fixer-upper kind of guy. And so he liked to rehab buildings, buy them. He saw potential in buildings, and I got that. And I don't know if it was the best thing to get, because like I've mentioned to you before, I was kind of a stock market guy. I learned that stock market thing, and my whole life kind of was woven in and out of that stock market thing. And I kept thinking that I would be as successful in real estate as my dad was. And so I would buy lots of stuff. And I got to tell you, I've never really made that much money in real estate, especially my homes. So I always bought homes. I rehabbed them into beautiful homes on the water in the Tampa Bay area. And at the end of the day, because of timing or whatever, I never really made much money. And I started to listen to to some programs from Robert Kiyosaki and some other influencers of mine. And I recognized that, I'm not sure we were really dealt the right hand in our country. We're told that the American dream is to go to school, study really hard so you can get into a really good college, and then get a really good GPA so you can get a really good job. And then you go buy your first house. That's the American dream. And then you have your 2.5 kids and your dog, and you buy a bigger house and a bigger BMW. And then you retire, and so you get taken care of because you've put money into mutual funds, whatever. And I found almost every step along that process is programming. And it's programming from the special interest. So we go to high school or grade school and we learn about, the Pythagorean theorem, but we don't learn how to do our taxes. We learn about Romeo and Juliet and how they killed themselves, one of them, but we don't learn how to have a really great relationship with a significant other in our lives. We go to college and we think the GPA matters, but we know that nobody asks you about your GPA. You probably don't use 90% of the knowledge that you gain in college, except for the social aspects of it, which is very important. And, I know people in my family that are spending $250,000 on degrees, and those degrees don't equate for a job. I think we've lost the point of education in our country. And so, going back to that whole thing about owning your own home, when you look at your home, you probably got a mortgage on it. And if you've got a mortgage on it, it's an asset on the bank's balance sheet and it's a liability on yours. And so, of course, we have to live somewhere. You might as well live somewhere that you love, but don't think it's an investment. And so that programming started to make me think differently. The Wall Street programming, the education programming, the real estate programming. And I'm getting away from your question, I know that, but I'll try to bring it back. And I was influenced all along the way about buying real estate. And you know what? I'm not good at it. I'm willing to admit it. I'm going to give that up to guys like you that are really good at it. But I've always surrounded myself with people in real estate that are really good. So I thought, well, how hard can it be? I'll just do it. I suck at it. You know what I'm good at? The stock market. So I'm trying to get out of all the rest of my real estate that I've been building up. And it's not as bad as I make it sound, because I've learned things every time I've invested in something. But I can tell you, I can click a mouse like that and spend $250,000 on a stock investment and have really good confidence that it's going to make me 1% a week. And I can't do that with real estate. With real estate, what I've learned is that you buy it, it takes a long time to get into it, then maybe you have to fix it up, then you have to maintain it, and when you want to sell it, you've got to hire a salesperson, you've got to get an appraiser, you have to get the bank to approve the seller's, money. Everything just is like in slow motion for me, and it just doesn't fit with my personality. So I guess the lesson there is know your strengths and know your weaknesses. And just because they're your dad's strengths doesn't make them your strengths. My dad made a lot of money in real estate. He didn't make a lot of money in the stock market. I'm the other way around. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's the big lesson. All along the way, I've had entrepreneurial experiences that are fun. I've owned a t-shirt store. I owned a 976 number, which is like a 900 number that you dial in. I used to have a stock hotline that you would call in and I would give you the stock of the day, and they did really
I
well.
remember those. I remember those, not, for different industries, obviously, but yeah, remember the sports line, remember
Yeah.
the movie line, everything, whatever it was. Yeah, it's so funny.
It was, and they would call in, they would pay $5, and they would get my stock tip for the day, and maybe they invested, but if they invested, they did really well. And that's kind of, I did that in the 80s, I think it was. I've had, when I was in college, I imported watches. I went to the University of Florida when Swatch watches were big. And I thought, why isn't there a University of Florida gator on the watch? And I went to Hong Kong, figured out a way to get there in college, right? I sat on a plane as a courier just to get a free flight, went there, bought clothes there because I couldn't bring any clothes, and went and met with the manufacturer, and I figured out a way to import watches, for the university, and sold them. And it was a big, huge learning experience as I was in importation. I've done a lot of other things, but I've learned lessons all along the way.
Yeah, that's good. So that's cool. You've had a bunch of different experiences,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, I have too, right? So I've enjoyed a lot of them. I haven't enjoyed a lot of them. I think it comes down for me is what can I control, and what I can't, because we've all invested with friends or people or business associates, and some of them have gone south and some of them worked out, right? But I've done everything from student housing projects to huge development projects to vacation rentals to building custom homes to hard money loans, technology platforms. I have 2 IPOs that, one just came out and one's coming out in the UK in second quarter of this year. I have technology platforms. I have social media pages that generate money, right? So there's all these different things. When I first started, it was, hey, I'm going to fix and flip a house, you know what I mean? Or I'm going to buy a house and try and flip it or make some rental on it. We called it flip flow, where you basically buy a house, make a few fixes to it, vacation rental it, show that it has rental income, and then flip it for a higher price. But you didn't really spend that much money. You actually made money and then sold it. That worked out great during a certain time in my life. Then I went to, I'm going to go to low income housing areas and get some of these low priced homes and get involved with some government agencies that gave me access to those foreclosures, and did some of those. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand going into those areas because I'd put in all this nice new stuff and try and help the community. Somebody would rob it. They get robbed repeatedly. And who the hell wants to deal with that? So that got thrown out the window. I couldn't take it after about a year. That was over. I've done the same, regular real estate. I don't like investing in syndications where I see a lot of people, they send you a 10-year pro forma. You're going to make 8% over the next 10 years, and then we'll double our money in 10 years. I'm like, I don't have 10 years to waste, and nobody knows what the world's going to be in 10 years. This last year just proved that. So your pro forma is right out the window. Yeah. So I don't like doing that at all. I don't care about making 8% a year. I can make 8% a week in my sleep. And I do. So I don't care about doing that anymore. I like playing bank. I like getting to a point where I can play bank, whether it's investing in someone's startup that I believe in, or if even lending money on real estate where I know that I have collateral, even in a disaster scenario, I'm protected. So I've lent out millions of dollars over the last few years and have a nice return. I have one right now that I'm doing that's paying me almost 9% a month. Wow. A loan to a startup company, and they've paid on time the whole time. So even if they defaulted on the rest, I've already made 200%, you know what I mean? Whatever it is in a year and a half. I like doing that. I'll give you another example. I bought several Instagram pages. And when you have a certain amount, I didn't even know this existed a few years ago.
Yeah, it didn't.
And this is just telling about adapting to the new world. Buying several Instagram pages and growing them to have a certain amount of followers, then brands pay you to post shout outs for their page. I think we made over $200,000 in 2020 doing that.
Amazing.
We're something I would have never even known about a couple of years ago, right? So there's different ways to make money, and I get excited when it's something new like that. So even though I don't fully understand social media and I'm not an expert at it, I know I can make money on it, and I figured out a way to do that. Yeah. You have the cash flow machine course that you have a group with. I was lucky enough for you to get me involved in that. That made me have another whole income stream for the second half of 2020 that really amplified my returns, something I wasn't doing a couple of years ago. And that's going to be a theme going forward with me, is I like finding things I wasn't doing that adds to my portfolio of income streams, because I still keep some of the old ones that were more traditional, and now I add these new ways to make money. That leads to my epic lifestyle ability going forward.
That's really amazing. And I know you've embraced some of the stuff that we've talked about, but I think it's because you're so willing to learn. And maybe that's a theme for the listener or the viewer, is that you don't know what you don't know. And so just being open to knowing that will allow you to kind of step in and do some other things. So you asked a quick question about passive income, and I didn't really give you an answer. But today I've got 7 or 8 streams of passive income. So I've written 3 books, a book on negotiation, a book on how to invest your money, a book on business. And then I've got several courses, and one of those courses you're involved in, it's a course in a Mastermind mentorship program. That brings me in income. I have other courses on the stock market. I have other courses on public speaking, time management, relationships. And each of those brings in some portion of income. And then unfortunately, I have real estate. And that's not as passive as they tell you that real estate is, right? Because I had to pressure clean a place over the weekend a few weekends ago because I couldn't find anybody else to do it. And as you know, I came up and I saw you when I was doing that. And so, if you can create a spread like you've done of passive income, then when one of them doesn't work because we have a pandemic or because something happens, at least you're comfortable enough that they are continuing to at least pay. The other ones are continuing to pay. I help people manage their portfolios. So there's lots of different ways that we do it. Mine are mostly around that. And I know you're partaking in that. So I think through those things, it's not a selfish thing. It's a way that we want to show that there's other ways to do this, right? You can make money on Amazon. You can make money by writing music and putting it on YouTube. You can make money with podcasts. You can make money with selling things on YouTube or branding an Instagram page, which is just amazing to me. You didn't know what you didn't know, and all of a sudden you knew it. And that's what it's about. So.
Crazy. So before we finish up with our vision for this Epic Success Podcast and the Epic Mastermind group, tell everyone, I think it's good advice from both of us. Why don't you start? How have you adapted during the pandemic? It's been now almost over a year we're coming on as we're recording this. How have you adapted your lifestyle to still have that epic feeling, even though shit's crumbling around you in the world?
Well, for me, 2020 was probably one of the best years I've ever had. It also had a downside. I lost my dad last year, but the year was fantastic other than that big one. And, financially it was great. I created a lot of things. And as you know, when I create, that's where I feel fully alive. So I was able to create, a mastermind group around my cash flow machine investment program. And that has been a source of a lot of pleasure for me, because normally I sit behind a computer, which I like to do, and I'm by myself and I trade stocks or I invest in things or I research. And that's just a me thing, right? And then on Friday afternoons, we get together for an hour. I walk people through their investments. They ask me questions. I see that everybody's making money, and it's a lot of fun for me. That adds a human element for me as well. So when I wasn't able to go to Greece, because I normally go to Greece for a couple of months every summer, I decided to just reframe myself and say, well, I'm going to be here. I'm going to quarantine. I'm going to work on fixing up the property that I'm living in. And I'm going to create some really cool income streams and really cool programs. And I think my life's work came out this actual summer where I created the Cash Flow Machine course and mastermind program, because I think I was looking back over some of the course material. It's like 70 modules long now. And I was like, hey, this stuff is really good. It wasn't just thrown together. It's really good. So I'm very proud of it. It's my life's work, I think, up until now. But I think there's a lot more coming. So I was able to leverage the negativity and tune out all the junk and really focus on creating. So I felt really like I had a great year. And I think I think 2021 will be even better because I built that foundation.
Yeah, I'll echo that. So creativity is a big thing for me as well. And during this, 2020 was a great year for me personally as well. I mean, obviously I don't like to see what's going on in the world. Nobody does. But for me, it was a great year. It got me back to my roots in 2 ways. On a personal level, I started learning the Italian language for my heritage, right? Something that can hopefully benefit me in the future. While it's not making me money, somehow I believe it will in the future. And it'll give me an opportunity that maybe I didn't think I can have when I do spend some time in Italy. Who knows? And then I started trading again with, Wall Street and the stock market, where I was out of that for 15 plus years. I didn't trade at all. And then I said, all right, the pandemic hit. I'm working on technology platforms that are really large, and I have teams doing that stuff, and we'll see where that goes. But in the interim, I'm going to learn a new skill. And I started trading, not day trading, but week and monthly trading. And I'm talking
Position trading.
yeah. And I started doing that. And I wanted to say, I put a certain amount of money in an account and I wanted to see what can I do over this, however long this pandemic's going to be. And I learned different ways to trade, whether it was using your system, which is very helpful, or doing my own stock picking. And people that have heard me on other podcasts, they know I say that Wall Street is a scam, and it is. I think you alluded to it in another episode, but it's a scam for the average person, right? So if you're investing in a mutual fund and you're making your 8%, they're making 25%. And you're getting 8 and you're happy about it. And that's what I mean when I say it's a scam. Doesn't mean you can't make money on it, but if you're the average person who just puts it in a mutual fund or something and lets it sit there, you're getting scammed. Trust me, I've worked on it. Mark's worked on Wall Street.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a scam. Anyway, doesn't mean you can't make money on it. And I was trying to figure out how can I make money on it in my quarantine new life of the past year. How can I make money on it? And I made 182% return in 2020 just by learning different things, researching, doing due diligence when I had extra time, using your new system. I mean, that stuff all added up to an amazing year, and that's just going to go forward. And it's taught my kids the same thing. So now that was another income stream for them. So I've adapted to, instead of just sitting there going, oh, when's the vaccine coming out? Or when am I going to get another job? Or when am I going to get another client? No, I created my own. And I thought that was, once again, I don't want it to sound arrogant, even though it is. I wanted to do something and prove to myself that I can have another skill or gain a few more skills. And that's how I adapted during this past year.
Good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Love to hear the returns that you've had, because I know that you've concentrated on a couple of specific areas that you've researched and understand a lot better than the average Joe. And of course you use my system, which is cool. And you did 182% or whatever you just said. And I don't know, that's what, 20 times what the average person gets in a year?
Yeah, and I mean, it is the biggest bull market ever where you could throw a dart at a dartboard and make some money crazy, but still really proud of the returns. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you did it and other people didn't do it. So I was having lunch with somebody yesterday and he's like, tell me about your system. I just watched your video. You say that you make 8 to 20% a year. And I'm like, yeah, because I can't tell people what we really make because then they think we're taking too much risk. As you know, we don't take a huge amount of risk. But I did 140%, 139 or something like that. I haven't done the final numbers in one of my hedge funds.
But people won't even believe you when you tell them.
They won't believe it.
Won't even believe it.
And it's like, just if you could just do that for 1 year, you make up for 10, 12, 15 years of what most people normally do. But if you compound, I just did the numbers this morning. If you take $1 million, okay, and I know that's a number that might seem like a lot to some people, but to other people, it's a very easy number. And you just invested at 1% a week. Now, we do about 2% a week, but let's just say you get half of what we actually get, consistently with less risk. If you do that, you take that $1 million, in 5 years, you have $10 million. And what I'm trying to get people to do when I talk to them is 10x their thinking. Just think a little bit bigger. Think about the person that you were 5 years ago and where you are now. And if you take that and look at where you can be in 5 years, now take that person that you could be in 5 years and bring it back to today and then set your goals. It changes everything. So it's available. The things that you don't even know that you don't know are out there, and they're going to hurt you if you don't know about them. At least you don't find out a few things. There's lots of different ways to make money in this life. There's lots of different ways to have health in this life. There's lots of variety. There's lots of places to go. You just got to decide for you, because if you don't decide for you, then somebody else is going to decide for you, right? If you go to work every day and there's absolutely nothing wrong with being an employee because there's certainty and the money comes in, and then during pandemics, if you still got a job that's, it's a lot easier. But if you're not working for yourself, you're helping for your dreams, you're helping somebody else create their dreams. And that's okay, as long as you know about it. And so I think that's the point of what we're trying to say, is that we've been through a lot of things, Len. We've tried a lot of different things. We've learned a lot of different things. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, and you should just find out about them.
Yep. Yeah, it's perfectly said, my man. Perfectly said. So, hey, I want everyone to know I'm super excited to be a co-founder of Epic Mastermind Group with you, and this podcast, obviously, where we can share the things we've learned and the people we know and the advice, experiences, etc., with everyone. So as we finish up, Mark, give us a succinct, what's your vision for the Epic Mastermind Group? What are members going to experience when they're part of it?
So I'll try to be brief, but to me, I'm so excited about this. As you know, I've been involved in starting other mastermind groups, and they've all turned out to be great. We've had thousands of members in some of these mastermind groups. We're taking the best of those mastermind groups and we're putting them into this. So this is about a holistic approach to living your life, right? This is the country club for men who want success and who have success and who want to continue to be successful and grow and make their lives even more epic. And it's not just about money. It's about health and wealth and fitness and success and relationships and confidence and lifestyle or location independence, or maybe just making your life where you are even better. And so you don't have that. You can't think about the last time, if you're a listener or watcher, that you had success. Like, what's the first thing that you wanted to do? You wanted to turn around and share it with somebody, right? You wanted to share it with somebody that was important. That's where the juice of life is, and is in who you can surround yourself with, who makes you feel your best self, who inspires you to become more, who can you collaborate with to create something even more incredible. And that's, to me, what Epic is all about. Have anything you want to add to that, Len?
Yeah, I love, I've obviously been part of several mastermind groups as well, big and small. And I love when I can hear other people's wins and I can share my wins in a non-judgmental scenario where people are genuinely happy for that and get ideas to maybe pick and choose other experiences I haven't tried yet to delve into that maybe can up-level my life. And I want Epic lifestyle to change every year. So I want it to be whatever it is now in my mind, I want that to go up to here next year, you know what I mean? And so on and so on. Every year, where last year looks like a joke compared to my coming year. That's really what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the initial group that we have already that's part of our membership is awesome. Can't wait for everyone to meet them and can't wait for everyone to keep watching and listening. Thank you for listening to the Founders Interview with my man, Mark Yegge. I'm Len Giancola. We'll see you next time on the Epic Success Podcast.
Just be epic.
Just be epic. We'll see you next time.